A man stands under the bright stage lights, a sold-out crowd cheering. He wipes sweat from his brow, gripping the microphone with one hand, and with another he opens a small folded piece of paper just handed to him by a stranger. He reads it, pauses, then calmly tucks it into his pocket. Hours later, he's found dead in a ditch, shot in the back of the head. That man was Chalano Sánchez, the godfather of the narco corrido. This is a story behind the note, the warning no one stopped, and the brutal cover-up that followed. A tale of violence, music, and silence in a country that still refuses to answer the question, who killed Chalano Sánchez? Chalano Sánchez, born Rosalino Sánchez Felix on August 30th, 1960, in a dusty village called Las Fechas in Sinaloa, Mexico. His family was poor, like dirt kind of poor. He was the youngest of 7 kids raised by his mother and father. Sadly, his father died when Chalano was just 6, and the family barely scraped by. But Sinaloa wasn't just any poor state. It was the cradle of Mexico's most powerful drug empires. And when you're born into poverty in a place like that, sometimes crime isn't a choice, it's a path. At 15 years old, Chalano's life changed forever. His sister was allegedly raped by a local mafioso at a party. A few weeks later, Chalano got his hands on a gun, tracked the man down, and shot him dead. Just like that, he was now a marked man. Chalano fled across the border to the United States, crossing illegally into California. He had nothing. No money, no English, no family, no support. For years, he did whatever work he could find. He sold oranges on the street, washing dishes, even worked as a coyote smuggling people across the border. In 1984, he met and married Maricela Vallejos, and they had 2 kids, Cynthia and Adan. But Chalano never really left the life behind. He was arrested multiple times in California on minor charges, but he also allegedly dabbled into the drug running. The rumor mill says he was deeply embedded with cartels, but none of which have been proven. What we do know, he carried a gun. Always. Music for Chalano started as something deeply personal. While in prison, he wrote his first ballad, a narco corrido, about his brother, Armando, who had been murdered in Tijuana. A narco corrido is a subgenre of the traditional Mexican corrido, a narrative ballad that focuses on drug traffickers, criminal exploits, and the cartel life. These songs often glorify or tell the gritty truths about the underworld. Chalano's first was raw, emotional, and violent. And people loved it. Soon, Chalano realized that there was a market for songs that told real stories of people in the underworld. He wrote hundreds of corridos for drug traffickers, gang members, fugitives, or really anyone who wanted their story sung. You paid Chalano, he'd make you immortal. He started performing at weddings, quinceañeras, and bars around Los Angeles. He wasn't polished. He wasn't even in tune half the time. But people loved him because he was real, because he was one of them. His tapes spread like wildfire. They were bootlegged and sold at swamp meets, gas stations, and taco trucks. No radio play, no labels, just word of mouth. But fame has a price. It started in the streets of Los Angeles. Chalano wasn't signed to a label. He didn't have a publicist. But his fans weren't polished radio listeners. They were immigrants, farm workers, ex-convicts, people who heard their stories in his voice. And then the buzz really started. He began booking shows across Southern California. Small venues turned into packed clubs. Every gig brought more eyes and more risk. Chalano wasn't just performing music. He was naming real people, real killers, real bosses. That kind of fame doesn't come without enemies. On January 25th, 1992, Chalano was performing at a small venue in Coachella, California. It was packed. The crowd was electric. Then, out of nowhere, a man named Eduardo Galejos emerged from the crowd and pulled out a gun and shot Chalano in the side. Chalano, bleeding, pulled out a gun of his own and fired back. Chaos broke out. At least 7 people were injured. But Eduardo was left paralyzed from the return fire. To this day, the motive remains unclear. Some say Eduardo was simply intoxicated, others believe it was personal. There is no concrete evidence tying Eduardo to organized crime, only speculation and rumors that grew in the aftermath. What is clear is that Chalano survived an assassination attempt in front of a live audience, and it only added to his legend. At the end of the day, Chalano was still a marked man. Even though he killed a mafia boss when he was just 15, the cartel doesn't forget. And Chalano's safety would be at risk forever. After the Coachella shooting, Chalano's fame exploded, but so did his danger. Just days before his death, he played at a private party for a wealthy man in Sinaloa, but something was off. There were rumors that he was forced to sing there. Witnesses say he looked uncomfortable, and the chilling detail, he crossed paths with an unexpected man, a man connected to Eduardo. Chalano was offered $20,000 to perform 3 shows in Mexico. He was advised not to. People worried for his safety. But he wanted the money, and he felt safe in his hometown. At his final concert, held in Salon Bungambelias, the energy was strange, tense. Whilst performing the show, someone handed Chalano a note, and just like that, opened it, read it, and slowly slipped it in his pocket. He later was seen discarding the note in the crowd, so we never actually got to find out what that note said. Some say the note was a direct threat. Others say it told him to leave the city or die. But Chalano stayed. After the concert, armed men dressed as state police stopped Chalano's car, saying their commander wanted to speak with him. He told his team that it'd be quick, but he never came back. The next day, his body was found in an irrigation canal, blindfolded, wrist tied, rope marks on his neck, and 2 bullets to the back of the head. To this day, no one has been held accountable. Fans and investigators alike have floated theories. These theories range from a revenge hit from Eduardo's allies, a punishment for singing about real narcos without permission, and a government-linked execution to silence the truth that he knew. The autopsy was rushed, the investigation went nowhere, and the note, it just vanished. Some say Mexican authorities buried the case on purpose. Chalano was too hot to touch. He blurred the lines between art and crime, and in doing so, became a threat to both the cartels and the state. The Sinaloan minister publicly blamed Chalano for his own murder. Her tone was cold, without sympathy. Some speculated that she was on the cartel's payroll. Why would a government official be so hostile to a national folk hero from her own state? The theory is that some public officials had deals with organized crime. They looked the other way in exchange for money, power, and protection. And when someone like Chalano became a liability, they stepped aside and let the cartels do what they wanted. This theory is further proved when the U.S. police investigating Chalano's earlier shootings were in contact with Mexican authorities. But when they requested a copy of Chalano's death certificate, they were denied. His case files were sealed. The band believes that the entire hometown tour was a trap. Someone wanted Chalano back in town. Maybe a drug lord funding the shows gave him a reason to return. Chalano, proud and fearless, kept his promise. 3 shows, then silence. His music exploded after his death. He became the face of narco corridos. His grave became a place of pilgrimage. Fans still visit to this day. In 2002, his son Adan Sanchez released a mixtape that included vocals from both father and son, a musical tribute, two voices joined across time. But 2 years later, in 2004, Adan died in a car crash in Culiacan. He had been born and raised in California. Why was he back there? Locals say it was just an accident. Rumors swirled that he had been shot and that his autopsy had been covered up. The case files were locked away, just like his father's. 2 deaths, same family, same city. Coincidence or a warning? Today, Chalano's name is still scared to many. His songs still sung, his story still told. But the truth about who really killed him still hidden, and very likely still protected. In his death, Chalino Sánchez became eternal, a voice that still echoes through Mexico, refusing to stay quiet, forever making him the godfather of the narco corrido. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I don't feel like this gets talked enough in especially US media, so I would love to shed light on it, on this incredibly talented musician. I would highly recommend you go give his songs a listen. I think they are worth your while. And again, thank you so much. Please consider subscribing for more videos like this. I promise they'll get better from now on. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Bye.